Marie Huey, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's and you brought baked fucking goods. That's,
you know what?
That's amazing.
You know, when I go somewhere and I'm visiting people, I always have to bring something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about on the way over, because I every time when I have a guest, I try to think about how long I've either known them or how long I've been aware of their music. And I remembered just kind of just popped in my head. You took part in one of the what was for me one of the weirdest nights that we've ever done at Guilt & Co.
Okay.
Because it was the wedding.
Oh, the wedding.
You remember doing that wedding?
Yeah, I remember. That was like the one and only wedding that's ever happened, right?
The one and only wedding.
Yeah.
And no fault to the people that to the wedding, the couple. They were really, really nice people. But I will never do a wedding again.
Never again. Never again.
Is the wedding game something that you do ever, or is that kind of a one and done thing for you?
No. The bands that I play in we're very busy with weddings during the year. Yeah. Are you? I thought you were.
It's just his hair flying in front of my face.
Sorry, that's probably me.
No, it's cat hair.
Yeah. So the bands that I play in are event bands.
Mm-hmm.
So, the majority of the bands that I play in are event bands. And so a lot of the events that we do during the summer specifically and year round are weddings. So I see a lot of people, partying and celebrating the union of a bride and a groom.
Yeah.
And it's really nice, but it is really nice. There's no but. But secondary to that, there's like another, I've been doing it for also, I've been singing at weddings for so long that I'm not attracted to being married.
Right.
Well, I don't know what it is, but it's like, I've seen so many, I've been a part of so many that I just don't feel like I need that. Totally. There's some people that want, like, the one thing that they want to do is get married and have the big party and declare in front of all of their friends and all of their family that they love this person. And, the union of it, it's like you have this ring and it signifies the love between a man and a woman, and you sign papers and it's all legal and stuff. And then you have this giant party and you feed everybody and everybody's so happy and drunk and I get that.
And then half of them get divorced in 5 years.
I know. There you go.
Have you ever sang at a wedding and thought to yourself, these guys aren't going to last?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've seen that before. And then I've seen some weddings that are like, they've spent a couple $1 million on these things.
Jesus.
And like that, that kind of includes like... It's okay.
Sorry, our producer's just got his phone going there.
That includes like the cost of the band. That includes the cost of like videographer and photographers and the catering and the venue and all that stuff. And it's like a couple $1 million, and like you could have bought a house with that.
I know.
It doesn't make sense to me. That's me though.
But it's like if you can afford to spend a couple $1 million on the wedding, you probably already have a house, and you're probably not that fucking worried.
Yeah, you probably have multiple houses.
Yeah, a friend of again, Freya. I talk about Freya because she's my partner.
Well, and she's awesome.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, talk about her. I love to hear more about her, actually.
A friend of her brother's got married a couple years ago, and instead of they basically took all their friends on their honeymoon.
Yeah.
So they had a really small wedding, and then they rented a villa in, I think, Spain with like 12 people and spent like a week and a half in the villa.
Amazing.
That was what they spent their
I think that
money on.
If I were to get married, which, we've been together for almost 15 years, we're not getting married. But if we were to do something like that, get married, that probably would be something that I would be into doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you get into the wedding game? Is that through the sort of the corporate gigs?
Yeah. Well, it's just, I don't know how it happened. It just happened. Right. I started singing with this band called the Soul Sisters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I know the Soul Sisters.
Do you?
Yeah,
really
you play them at Guild, don't you? Oh,
no.
I was thinking of Soul Queen's tribute.
No. That's the Soul Queen's tribute with Tiff and I.
With Tiff. Yeah.
No, this was years back. This must have been like 14 years back.
Oh, cool.
And it was me and 3 other females, and we would rehearse for months at a time, and then we'd have this one show, and we would sell tickets for it. We'd have this band, and we'd do a couple band rehearsals, and we'd sell the whole venue out with just our friends and family.
Right.
And then we would perform songs, just like how, event band would play, a venue. And then from that, one of the girls in that band asked us if we wanted to go over to Macau, which is the Vegas of China, to do like a residency. And I was like 20 at that time, and I was like, I'm going.
Yeah, of course.
I had already finished. I already had a degree from BCIT, a marketing degree from BCIT, and I was like, I really don't want to just get a job and just like have this corporate job for the rest of my life and not be able to experience anything else. So I was like, yeah, no brainer. I still lived at home with my parents. I had no expenses. And I was like, this is going to be great. So I went over, I lasted 4 different contracts for 2 different hotels with pretty much the same band. And you would know some of them in the band. Mariah was in it.
Oh, yeah.
Vince Mai, Jay Leonard.
Jay. I just saw Jay the other day. Triller Jay just played it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carlos Arias. He used to play with Malcolm a lot.
Yep.
Fronted by Henry Brown.
Crazy. Yeah, I was talking about Henry Brown yesterday with Marley.
Okay. So Marley was also
she was in Malaysia.
in bands with Henry, and that was like after my stint with Henry. And then
it was like a passing of the torch.
Totally. Cool. Yeah, I had no idea. I didn't even know Marley until like many years after Henry's band. But yeah, and then like now I know Cherise.
Yep.
And Cherise is awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
And I have this like big place in my heart for Henry. And he schooled me. That was like my school.
He's a hell of a performer.
Yeah. So I know you know, in your podcast here, you talk about music school and stuff. I didn't go to school for music.
Oh, that's it. Turn the cameras off.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Chinese. So, I got the music education when I was younger, but I didn't want it.
Right.
Like my parents forced me to take piano, and I was, part of the Royal Conservatory. Like that was my schooling. And I was like, I don't want to play any of this classical stuff. My older brother passed a certain level, and it was like, okay, now my parents were like, okay, now you can play whatever you want to, because you've passed like the 2nd level or something, or 3rd level.
Right. Piano as well.
Yeah. And then he started playing like Boyz II Men and Janet Jackson and all these other artists that we were listening to on the radio. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't want to do this anymore. So this was like at a young age, right? So we were pretty much forced to play piano, but I just didn't want to. So we stopped that. And that was like the end of my music schooling from a young age.
Yeah, you grew up in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Richmond.
Yeah.
And then, I'm Chinese, so my parents really wanted all of us to go to university.
Right.
And so both my brothers went to university. I have a younger brother and an older brother. So my older brother went to SFU, UBC. So did my younger brother. And my younger brother now is a lawyer in Manhattan. And so he's a smart one. He's like the studious, like,
thing to have in your back pocket.
I know. And so yeah, I went to school. I got a degree, and then I was like, no, I'm not doing any of this right now. I'm just gonna go.
And you said
go to Macau.
Degree was in business marketing.
Yeah.
Have you used it?
I have. Yeah. So the last time I was in the corporate world, I was working with a real estate marketing agency. So we were doing all of the marketing, promotions, and all of that stuff for multifamily homes made by developers.
Yeah.
So we would, from start to finish, like we would figure out what the name would be of the building, which was, one of the really cool aspects of it, like finding what the branding would look like, what the color schemes might be, what the font would look like what the presentation center would be, what kind of technical aspects do you need in a presentation center, like touch screens and like floor plans and brochures, and then all the way to working with a sales team and then selling that whole building out. When I was working with the agency, we were in the part of like one of those quite a few years where everything was selling out before it was even offered to the public.
Yeah.
Realtors would have all of these clients and they would just sell out an entire building of like 300 units at top market price.
Yeah.
And of course, at that time there was
Was this pre-08? Or
after
that? Yeah. So after because there was the crash and then everything sort of came back a little bit?
Yeah. So this was when all of the foreign money was going around.
Yeah. I remember when I was in my early 20s, I was working construction, and we did a lot of new builds, but we did a lot of heritage building restorations.
Oh, that's nice.
So but they were it's a total facade, right?
Yeah.
We did this one house on Point Grey. It was a Point Grey road out in Kitts, like in between Kitts and UBC, where all those massively expensive homes are. And it was a mansion that to keep the heritage whatever status happy, you have to maintain a certain amount of the front of the building. It has to stay the same.
Yeah.
The whole house was gutted. There was nothing left of that house
except for the front.
And the house was turned into like 5 or 6 different units. And they all went for each one individually went for like $1.5 million.
Crazy.
I was just like, how?
That's back then. That's not crazy now.
Yeah.
That's like a drop in a bucket now.
I know it's nothing. It's like, what is going on? I just want to live in the town that I work in.
I know.
It's funny too, because my background is obviously in hospitality, and I've done some construction, and I went to school for theater, and I've been in music for a long time.
Yeah.
So there's so many jobs that it's so weird knowing nothing about them.
Yeah.
I'm like, people come in like, well, what do you do for a living? I'm like, marketing. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah. It's such a broad job. Just like, it's not even that you needed a job description. There's so many different veins of marketing. Right. But
so you went to Macau and you got the bug and just never quit.
Yep. Pretty much. Yeah.
Was singing always a passion of yours? How did being forced to take piano lessons turn into singing?
I joined my church choir, and that's probably, similar to a lot of other singers, is that they join a choir and then they just learn how to be together with other people that want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's to make beautiful music, beautiful noise, and being in a choir. And I wish that I had time to be in a choir right now. It's because it's something that's always, it's always been so attractive to me, is just to be together in a room with other people that have like-minded interests, that want to do the same thing as you, to feel music through your body, through your voice, and to just hear everyone sing together. It's such a beautiful thing. But yeah, I joined my church choir. And I tell this story often because when somebody asks me like, how did I get into singing? I tell the story often. My choir director's name is Carey de Guzman, and he took me in when I was in grade 12. And I joined my, high school choir and stuff, but it was never really like what I experienced with Carey. We would perform at choir competitions and choir showcases, and every year we would have this one particular one. And every year he would give me the solo. And I'm like, Carey, there's other females in this choir that might want to solo, might want to sing. He's like, no, I want you to have it. So it was that particular moment that I realized that there was something in me that he saw that maybe other people saw, that I had a voice, that I needed to share it with the world. So that's kind of what gave me that confidence to be like, okay, maybe this is what I want to do and what I needed to do. Because before then, I'd never took really any music or like singing lessons or anything. I still haven't really had a lot of music education and singing, like vocal training, which I probably should. Just as you get older, your voice kind of disintegrates. But
you notice the
I noticed certain things.
A little bit more?
Yeah, I noticed certain things.
It's hard for me to talk.
Yeah. Anyways, that's where it stemmed from. Being in a choir and having that. My family was not super musical at all. I mean, I know that some of the podcasts that I've heard of, like the Filipino culture, like that's part of their religion. That's part of their culture.
Refers to karaoke as the national sport of the Philippines.
That's right. Yeah. For Chinese people, it's not as important, but we did have a karaoke machine at home, and when we would have people over, my parents would just beg us, me and my brothers, to sing. And so my older brother and I would sing, I can show you the world.
Shining shimmer.
There you go. And then my younger brother, they would like beg my younger brother to sing the Lion King song, the Elton John one.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that one.
Just put on little concerts?
Yeah, we would just put on, a little concert but
at least your family was asking you to put on the concert.
Yeah, no. They didn't force us. Yeah. And then eventually, like, I would be the only one to say yes, and my brothers would be like, no, I don't want to do it. Yeah. But I would, I would listen. We would always listen to the radio in the car, and I would always be singing with it. So I grew up with a lot of like Celine Dion and Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston and that sort of thing. And that's what was like the foundation for my love of music.
Yeah, Whitney Houston is God.
Yeah, isn't she? Yeah,
I love Whitney.
Yeah, so to this day, like for Soul Queens, we're playing at Guild May 12th. But for Soul Queens, it's like, okay, we generally, Tiff and I kind of grew up in the same sort of generation. And so we have same sort of music tastes. Like Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston are like the artists to want to sing. And so like we can do it, right? Like we actually have sort of never on their levels, but like we have the capability to actually sing it and to hear the crowd want to sing it too. It's really nice.
Yeah. Do you remember can you think of any moments during the pandemic singing Dance with Somebody?
Yeah. What do you mean?
When no one was allowed to dance.
Well, actually, like during the pandemic, when I did play at Guild a couple times, it was actually really nice to not play like that sort of music, like dancey sort of, because that's never really happened. All of the bands that I play in, like, were event bands, right?
Yeah.
Where most of the bands that I play in are event bands. So the goal is to get people to dance.
Yeah.
But during the pandemic, it was actually really nice to just have people stay there and enjoy the music because, first of all, they're out. So they're taking a risk with being out. And I thought that Guild did a really good job with, maintaining that distance, just being safe.
Hear that, health inspectors? We did a really good job.
Yeah, I thought you did a really good job. I'm sure that if I can remember correctly, the servers would and when people would like yell and like scream and stuff. Like I remember the servers like had to go up to that table and be like, "Sorry, you have to keep it down because the amount of spit that's coming out of your mouth might hurt somebody else, you know? So I remember that happening.
Time.
It was a crazy time.
Did you notice? It's funny because sometimes the return to normality is a bigger adjustment. Stupid analogy, but the only thing I can think of is first time I drove on the other side of the road when I was in Australia.
I've driven in Australia. It's crazy.
Yeah, Sydney's nuts. It's the only place that I've ever driven, but it's there's no such thing as like in North America, all the roads are built on like a grid.
Yeah,
because they're newer cities.
Yeah.
I guess Sydney's not that old either. But it was that driving on the other side of the road, it was fine because I was super aware of it and I was hyper focused to it. When I came back I was only there for 6 months. When I came back, I ended up on the wrong driving here. I ended up on the wrong side of the road like 3 times.
Wow.
Because I found it was a
Dangerous.
bigger adjustment. Did you find, circling back to music,
Mm-hmm.
did you find that when there was that return to closeness with strangers, so you're singing and you're singing to an audience that's dancing 4 feet in front of your face, singing along to what you're singing, was that a stark adjustment for you to get back to that?
Well, it was certainly shocking to me that like we could, like obviously with sure I'll have some more. Like that's what I've been doing with music. Like this whole time I've been singing is like like I said, the goal is to have people standing up and dancing and having a great time. So the stark difference between that and then them not being able to stand up, even like you can't stand, you have to stay seated. So now going back to having, I remember I have a picture of me playing at Guilt. I think it was Christopher Edmondson. I think I'm saying his name right. Do you know him? The photographer? He's like a live music photographer. He came to one of the gigs that were like one of the very first gigs that it was actually the night of the day that Dr. Bonnie Henry said that live music was allowed to be back. I was at Guilt that night, performed at Guilt that night. It was a momentous occasion. And I remember the very first set, it was like, oh, people aren't really like standing up. Maybe they just don't really realize what happened or they just don't feel comfortable doing it, which I totally understand.
Was that when all the stuff, you could dance again and everything?
Yeah. It was announced that you can now be at a bar.
You can now shake your booty.
Shake. Yeah. So the second set, it was like, okay, let's try and get something happening here. And then by the end of that set, it felt so good just to have one person start dancing, and then they all kind of like came around. But I have this one photo and they were like reaching out to me and I was reaching out to them, and it felt like it was okay. Now we're back. Like everything it will never be the same, but we're back to where live music needs to be. Yeah. The connection between me and them. So yeah, that was I'll always remember that one night at Guilt, and I have pictures too.
Was that a Soul Queen's night, or was that just
no? I can't remember what it was. It was maybe a Marie Huey. I think it was one of the Ground Up Thursdays.
Yeah. I love those Ground Up Thursdays.
Yeah. And it was a Thursday night, and people wanted to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, just because we're talking about pandemic, your oldest is about the age of the pandemic.
He is a year older than the pandemic. Yeah, I remember his birthday is in February, so the month after. Yeah,
so almost a year exactly.
Yeah, like we had for his first birthday, we went out for brunch. And first birthdays, the kids don't ever remember anything. So it wasn't for him. Yeah. It was for us. And it was like, we did it. We survived his first year.
We survived his first year.
I think first year birthdays are just a bit of a
want
joke.
for his birthday? Nothing. Get me something.
Yeah, exactly. I did it. I kept him alive. So we had brunch with, the people that were closest in our lives and the ones that really made the time to spend time with us that year and help. And I remember, just a few weeks after, just like seeing all that happen.
Everything just shut down.
Yeah. So I feel for the first time parents that had to go through that.
Yeah.
During the pandemic. I feel for them because there were things that I was able to do with Ronan that I wasn't able to do with Rogue, that they were not able to do with their first kids.
Yeah.
And the support was like the community support wasn't there during the pandemic, obviously. I know one of my close friends, she had a baby during the pandemic and she had to keep her circle super, super tight just because her parents are older. And so they never got to see their grandkid kid until like months later.
Right. Yeah.
And so they only saw her through the window, which is so heartbreaking. And that's just one story out of so many. Yeah. Right.
But so many stories are just like that too as well.
Yeah. So at least I got to experience being a first-time mom pre-pandemic, which I'm very, very thankful for.
Right.
Yeah. But it's getting back on track. Everything is available now. So
yeah. Something I've always been curious about, and I was curious about it during the pandemic. We could toss your insight to it for parents with young kids. How did you notice an adjustment period either before or after with your oldest? Like, because he went a year where everybody that he saw, except for your close circle, had a mask on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like all of a sudden there's a bunch of faces out there now. Like,
I think we dodged a bullet there.
Yeah.
I think we dodged a bullet because he was one when it happened. And so kids don't really remember a lot. Like, of course, they will retain a lot of that core memory stuff. But like for us, it wasn't as we weren't as impacted as somebody with kids that were, let's say, in elementary school or a little bit older, or even like graduating high school and not being able to do a graduation party, or the ones that were in, college and university where they couldn't actually experience the college life.
Yeah.
Everything had to be online. So I think we actually dodged a bullet. So I'm thankful for
a lot
that.
of those college kids probably dodged a bullet too.
Yeah.
I can't have sex in a 2-foot bunk bed.
Yeah. Too bad.
Too bad you didn't get to live the dorm life.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that lived the dorm life that's like, I'm really glad I did that.
I unfortunately didn't have that experience.
I didn't either. I wasn't smart enough to do the school thing.
But you went to theater school
at 30.
Okay. Yeah. So you were one of the mature students.
I mean, by technicality.
Yeah, by age.
By age. Yeah.
Not by attitude.
Not by any other measure. I think I was the first one asleep at the the icebreaker party.
Oh.
Yeah, it was funny too.
30 years old.
30 years old, yeah. And I just started theater school, and they had, every year they do like a beginning the older students, throw a party for the incoming class.
Yeah.
And I had been working in bars for years, so bartender. Like, I was like, I'm not. They're like, you don't need to bring booze at all, and I'm like, yeah, I do. These 20-year-olds aren't going to be able to get me drunk. They don't know what's going on. So I downed like a half a pint of Mickey. Of Jameson before I even got there.
Oh God.
And I walk in the door and they're throwing tequila shots at me, and I was passed out within an hour of being there.
Okay, so you were passed out, not in bed.
No,
voluntarily.
I was passed out on the couch. I woke up with
oh God,
drawings all over my face. And everything.
Oh, The 30-year-old.
30-year-old. It was the
The
running.
old
It was
guy.
the running gag for my entire.
The old guy. Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
Grandpa fell asleep again.
Well, speaking of theater school, I did something in your realm for the very first time ever in my life. I auditioned for a musical.
Which musical? Recently?
Like a couple days ago.
Oh, cool.
It was
this Arts Club?
Yeah, it was thrilling. It was something I had never thought that I would want to do and never thought that I could do. I mean, people tell me all the time, like, "Oh, you're a singer. You sing on stage. Isn't it this? Like, it's similar. It's similar because you have to memorize these things and you kind of have to act on stage. And like singing is so different than speaking. And like speaking a bunch of lines you got to memorize, because with the music you have a specific song, and that song the structure of a song is very similar to all the other songs, unless it's like classical jazz or whatever. You have a verse, chorus, bridge, maybe a bridge, chorus, out, whatever. That's like the structure of a song. But with like speaking and lines and dialogue, like there's a lot of back and forth, and there's so much emotion that you got to put into it. And so I never thought that I would ever want to do it. I've always, however, wanted to be Mimi in Rent.
Oh, yeah,
just because I love, like, what's the time? Well, it's gotta be close to midnight. Like, I love the music.
Yeah.
But
that's great.
I've never thought that I would ever audition for anything. However, Mariah Chetta, she's involved with a lot of theater these days.
Yeah, her and Crystal Santos have taken Hey Viola to Stratford.
Yeah, that's right.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so cool.
I just saw that show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I saw it last year when she was doing it at the Anvil Center. It's fantastic.
It's
It's
a beautiful
so great to see a friend do something like that.
Yeah.
Like I was sitting there just like so proud. Anyways, back to the story. Mary is the musical director of this arts club musical theater show called the Cambodian Rock Band. And so she reached out to all of her Asian singer band people. And
she knows a few.
Yeah, she knows so many. And so I auditioned for it. Like I almost memorized all of it. We were told to have a song prepared from, different artists. We can choose, whatever song that we wanted to. So I had that down already, but like the script and the sides were really hard for me. But I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you audition with?
Who?
What'd you audition with? What pieces?
What do you mean?
What songs?
Oh, what song? Jackson 5's "I Want You Back."
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And the character that I auditioned for, she is really, really, she's supposed to know how to play the tambourine. So like I played the tambourine. So I was like, yeah, I can do this. Like super strong on the musical part of it, the vocal part of it, but like not on the acting, because I have zero acting experience. The only thing that I've ever really done is a commercial for an outdoor brand, outdoor apparel brand called LL Bean. And after I quit my full-time corporate job to just pursue music, I was like, oh, I have some time. I'm going to do all these auditions for commercials. And like, I can't even tell you how many auditions I did. Like, must have been over 60.
They're so demoralizing.
It is. The rejection. The rejection is one thing. Obviously, I knew that was going to happen going in, but it's just the time spent on getting there, parking, waiting, like all of that stuff.
And then you walk in and
time.
it's just the meat market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyways, there was one audition that my agent sent me to. Actually, I had to tell her about this audition because I had heard about it through some other people, and it was for LL Bean, and the whole premise of this commercial is that there's people playing football. There's two teams, flag football, which I play football. I play flag football, but she knew that. Anyways, but the flags, instead of flags, it would be their signature flannel shirt.
Right.
Button up collared flannel shirt.
Yeah.
And so we would have that around our waist. And then instead of pulling a flag, we would pull
on the shirt.
Yeah. And so I'll always remember this experience just because it's been my one and only commercial experience. So another girl that I used to play football with, her and I went to the audition. And it was on a big field in Mount Pleasant. And we were there a little bit early. I always have a football in my trunk. So I took that football. We started throwing the football around. And a bunch of other people came around and we were throwing footballs together. And then one of them happened to be the director. And he saw that I was able to throw football properly.
Yeah.
And so the commercial was actually supposed to be two teams with two male quarterbacks, but he saw me throw and wanted to cast me as one of the quarterbacks. So instead of having two male, they would have one female, which was me, and a male. And so they cast me, which was amazing. Like, it's like, oh, this is great. But I feel like I was just there at the right time.
That's what
that I could,
so much of show business,
which is so much what a commercial is, right? Yeah. So that was my my experience. It was a 2-day shoot. It was all over Vancouver, like in Yaletown, at the park there, and a bunch of other places. And I got to experience what it was like behind the scenes. A lot of it, the majority of it, is hurry up and wait, which we experience as musicians. It's hurry up and wait. So it was a lot of that, a lot of eating.
Yeah.
The crafty table.
Yeah, you have to like. Every time I've ever been, at a crafty's table, I'm like, there's nothing else to do but sit and eat this food.
Yeah, because you're just
but
waiting there.
I don't want to eat 20 buns.
Yeah.
I've only done one commercial ever.
Cool.
Out of the dozens that I've auditioned for, and I hate auditioning for commercials.
Yeah.
I cannot stand it. It's especially now. Like I'm one of the few actors that I've spoken to that misses in-person auditions. Most of them love self-tapes because it gives them a chance to. There's less pressure. There's less. But I just always felt like I was like, I made a much better impression in person.
Yeah.
But that being said, I still hated the commercial ones because you walk in, like I would get seen for, like the meat market that is the film industry, right?
Uh-huh.
You go out, I'd get the character description and be like, average Joe, not super muscular, not an athlete.
Yeah.
And I would show up and I'd be like, cool, yeah, I can do that. I'm an average body type, I guess. And I would walk in and they'd be like fucking triathletes.
Wow.
Going up again, like, yeah, you're an average Joe, sure. And I'm Celine Dion. And then I'd get like a little out of shape. Looks like he plays a lot of video games. I'm like, okay, that's clearly me in film talk.
Yeah.
And I go in and I'm up against like guys who are like 250, 300 pounds.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, so clearly there's no in between.
Yeah.
Pardon me. The only one I ever actually booked was a FedEx commercial.
Cool.
So, pardon me. And it was the final commercial was just like pictures, like not pictures, quick little scenes of people delivering packages all over the world.
Yeah.
They shot in like 30 locations.
Cool.
And I showed up, and I don't think the director even knew I was supposed to be there because he had no idea what to do with me. And we went to one location, like, oh yeah, we're not filming this spot here. So I sat at one location for an entire day in my FedEx uniform, and then we went to another like warehouse location, and I was billed as an actor, like a primary in terms of like what I was booked for. And then he just used me as an extra.
What?
But they had to pay me as an actor because that's what the contract was.
Right.
But I don't know if he didn't communicate with who didn't communicate, but he had there were 3 of us, all supposed to be like delivery guys.
Yeah.
And he didn't use any of us. We just all stood in the background.
That's annoying.
And then he didn't use the spot. They never used the spot.
They never use the spot. That's annoying.
Yeah. So I got paid for the day rate, but not for the commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like, obviously it's great to get paid, but you're cast to do a job.
Yeah.
To be a primary actor in a specific thing that you might, so I'd see how frustrating it is to just sit there all day and not be used. I don't know. Maybe you liked it.
Well, no, I was bummed. I was bummed that I didn't get any actual screen time because it was something that like exists on my resume, but something that I couldn't use for a demo reel, right?
I see.
Like, yeah, I did a FedEx commercial. Oh, can we see that? No. No, I was there and got paid for it.
You have enough for a demo reel?
I do not. I do not.
Because for that LLB commercial, it was like just a glimpse of me. There was like a couple glimpses of me. And then there was one where I'm like, I walk in, but it's just not me. It's like a whole line of players. Yeah. And that was it. So definitely not enough for anything.
Yeah. But you enjoyed the theater audition.
I did.
Yeah, that's it.
I actually really enjoyed it. And the process of learning the character, learning about what the story was all about, like doing research on the story. It was like it was based on a true story.
Yeah.
And learning about the character and like feeling what she would feel during this one scene. It was powerful.
Yeah.
But I never thought that I would enjoy it. So I don't know, maybe it'll be something that I can pursue.
That's a good sign because I don't think a lot of people walk away from their first audition and go, that was fun.
Really?
I think, it can be a scarring experience for some people. Yeah.
Because it wasn't good enough or?
Because you don't, theater auditions are much, much warmer.
Okay.
And you, like, I've auditioned for lots of theater shows and even when I've not gotten it, I've gotten a thank you from the casting department.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in. We went in a different direction.
Okay.
Which is nice, because at least you're not sitting there wondering.
Right.
Whereas film, the audition rooms could be quite cold. You walk in and it's just, look at the camera. Well, don't look at the camera. Look at the reader.
Yeah.
Do your scene.
Right.
I've never auditioned for anything film music related.
Okay.
I don't know if you can tell from the gravelly sound of my voice, but I'm not much of a singer.
I mean, I have a pretty raspy voice too, so
super raspy, super raspy.
Well, it makes a difference when like a friend is in the room. Mary was in the room. Yeah. She played the piano for my song, so it felt so much nicer. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think also because I have zero expectations. I have no expectations. I don't expect even a call. Like, I don't expect any of that. I just thought, this is something I've never done before. It's a good challenge. It's stretching my artistic ability. And that's how I feel. It's more of a learning thing for me than it is something that I expect an outcome from. So maybe my mindset is completely different than somebody that like really, really, really wants that role.
Yeah.
I would like to have that role. However, I don't expect that role at all. Well, there's like a 99.9% chance that I'm not going to get that role. Yeah. So knowing that full well, it just was an experience of just, this is like more of a learning experience and more of something that I can enjoy doing for the very first time than anything else. So, I can't, maybe I can't say that it would be enjoyable if the 10th time over I'm doing something and I don't get it. But, and obviously I know when I'm auditioning for anything, the amount of rejection is really high. Yeah. So being my very first musical audition, I don't expect anything. And so my expectations are low. And so it was more so enjoyable than anything else.
Yeah. I've had that, heard the phrase for actors. Your job isn't acting, your job is auditioning.
Yeah.
And that's the truth of it for a long time.
Yeah.
Is that like every once in a while you get to act, but the job is auditioning. So you have to know whether or not you can handle that.
And then you have somebody like Marley, which you just spoke to her the other day, where, she's been an actor for years and now look at her.
Yeah, she just had three leads. She's got
trajectory is just rising, and I'm so proud of her.
She got a grant to do a feature.
Sorry, say it again?
She got a grant to do a feature.
No way.
One of her short films.
Good for her.
Yeah. Shout out to Marley.
Shout out to Marley. She's awesome. I love Marley. I get to sing with her sometimes, and it's just really nice to be able to share her space and share her stage, or share a stage.
Yeah. Do you do because you do the Soul Queen's tribute?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. So just went wonky with my headphones there. And then you do some solo stuff with like you front the band, and you mentioned you get to sing with Marley sometimes. Do you do a lot of shows? Typically, do you do more stuff with just you, the only vocalist, or do you do pair ups?
Most of the time, I'm singing with other people. I used to, like, peppered out through the year, I do front my own band, which is literally just me and the band behind me. But the majority of the bands that I play in are it's just me plus others. So me plus another, or me plus three others, which is really nice to be able to create a full sounding full sounding song with so many vocalists. It's actually really nice to have more than just myself sometimes. But yeah, the band Famous Players that I play in the majority of the time, the one that makes the money, the corporate band, the event corporate band.
Bradley's a part of Famous Players, right?
Yeah. So I sing. It's me and three others. So there's 4 people fronting the band,
right?
Which is it's the show. That's the show. Yeah.
And that's you, Bradley.
Well, Bradley actually sings in the sister band.
The sister band, right? Yeah.
So it's me and 3 others, one of them being Doran Bell. So him and I do, at Guilt, we'll be doing something. It's the 90s hip hop and R&B.
Nice.
So he's a fantastic singer, and he also raps really, really well. So he does the whole 90s hip hop thing really, really well.
Oh, cool. When's that?
That's in June. Yeah. So the first one went off. We did that first one, I think it was in January or December. It was so much fun because I grew up with that music. Mm-hmm. That was like my true love is R&B.
Yeah.
And that stemmed from the 90s. Like watching Midnight Love on BET when I was like a teenager. And so being able to sing a song and have a band back me up to a song like Nobody, no, 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 no. Like that's like Deborah Cox and like all of those, that sort of era is like one of my dream things to do. And Dorn and I get to do it together, which is amazing.
Do you approach gigs differently as an artist when you know that you're the solo vocalist, as opposed to when you're going up with other leads?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So song choice is different. The way that I sing it is different. Obviously the energy might be different just because there's not so many people on stage. And of course the budget is going to be different as well. But when I'm singing on my own, there's other liberties that I can take. Like I can pepper in some of my own original music in there sometimes, or choose songs that are in my repertoire that nobody knows really except for me, and I've like had to force my band to learn
this song.
Yeah, learn the song. Yeah. Or else.
Have you been doing any writing recently?
Yes and no. I mean, the ultimate goal is to create my own music. Mm-hmm. And it's not an excuse at all, but I don't play any instruments. So it's a bit hard for me to like create on my own. I have to rely on somebody to collaborate with.
Hum for them.
Yeah. Hum it. And so most recently, Mary Anchetta and I we got a grant to do a song together.
Cool.
So her and I, we wrote and we recorded a song called No Question. And we had Mary play the keys, and she was a co-writer. And then Scott Verbeek was on guitar, Matt Reed on bass, and Johnny Andrews on drums. And we recorded it at Monarch Studios, and that was one of Olivia's last. It was like maybe like a month before she passed away.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. So that song will always remind me of her. Mm-hmm. And we had some budget to bring in some horns for it, because I grew up in this sort of like band community playing with trumpet and sax. Right. So that's always been something that I've wanted to incorporate horns into all of the music that I write. So we actually got a horn section out of Austin, Texas that plays with like Jason Mraz and like Pink and a bunch of other artists. We got them to record horn parts and send it over, which is really cool. So it's still in the works.
Yeah.
And hopefully get a music video going for it and release it sometime soon.
Yeah, well, I look forward to that.
Thank you.
And you mentioned earlier, you're doing the 90s show.
Yeah.
In June. Is that beginning of June, late June?
June 9th.
June 9th.
I believe.
We might, trying to think if when this episode's going to land. It's probably going to might be after that.
Okay.
But so if you're watching this before June 9th, go to that show.
Yeah.
If you're watching it after June 9th and you didn't go to that show, then shame on you.
There'll be another one.
There'll be another one.
Yeah.
But yeah, where can we find you?
On Instagram.
On Instagram. On the Guilt and Co calendar. I know
on the Guilt and Co calendar, yeah. It's so my Instagram is at Marie Huey. HUI is my last name. And you could find me at Guilt. You can find me at any of the stadiums singing "O Canada."
That's right. You do "O Canada." I forgot about. I actually went to I don't remember even what sport it was, but I was at a game not
soccer or hockey.
It was a Whitecaps game.
Yeah, there you go.
And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, hey, that's Marie."
Yeah. Yeah. I've been singing for the Whitecaps for like 13 years.
Is that a fun gig?
It's so much fun. It's so much fun. That was actually the one and only thing I've ever music thing that I've ever had to audition for.
Yeah. And you do both anthems, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what a thrill. This is such a thrill to sing the American anthem in America.
Oh yeah, people go nuts for it.
Crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah.
You go to a baseball game there. There's like
I actually sang.
You go to a baseball game, but don't take off your hat.
Oh, is it? Is it bad, people?
Yeah, and I've done it before just because I forget.
Oh yeah, yeah. I actually sang for the Mariners for the first time last year.
That's super cool. Who were they playing? Were they playing
the A's?
It was another American team.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And I also sang. What's that? Not God Save the Queen. God Bless
America.
America.
It's the same melody.
God bless America. It was so beautiful. Yeah. That's actually a really beautiful song. And then as I'm singing it, which is in the 7th inning stretch, these jets come overhead and everyone's just screaming. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm in America. And I'm singing this American song. And oh my God, it's America. And it was actually such a great experience.
Yeah.
Singing that song and having people like crazy, like yell for me, and obviously singing the American anthem before the game started. It was, a really cool experience. I never sung for an MLB game before, so that was my first one.
Yeah, it's quite an ordeal. Mm-hmm. Those, the big sports places, sports ball arenas, style stadiums.
Yeah.
In the United States.
Yeah.
I've never been to any of the stadiums or arenas
in Seattle,
in Eastern Canada, so I don't know the because Toronto is like a much bigger city.
Yeah.
Typical Vancouverite refers to Toronto as Eastern Canada.
Yes.
But
or you go to like Saskatchewan and you watch a Rough Riders game. How crazy that would be.
Yeah. See, I don't have any of that frame of reference. But
Me neither.
I used to live in Seattle, so I've been
okay.
Tons of those games. And
were you there when the Sonics were there?
I was there when the Sonics were there.
Oh my gosh, how cool would that have been?
I went to a couple games. They were very cool.
I've been to a couple games too back when I was younger.
You mentioned that did you grow up playing sports?
Yes.
You mentioned you played football.
Yes, I grew up playing a lot of sports. Yeah. After I had my second kid, my knees have really started to mess like that. It's just really bad knees. Yeah. So I haven't been able to play.
It was the kids that did it for me as well.
Yeah.
Not 15 years of drinking.
I grew up playing a lot of basketball. So that was like my first love of sport, volleyball.
So were you devastated when the Grizzlies left?
Well, I was still a bit young.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get it. I think I probably only went to one game. But yeah, they left when I was young. Okay. So I don't really know anything about that time. But yeah, and then I started playing football maybe about 10 years ago. I was a quarterback for a couple seasons. Yeah. Holy crap. That is a hard position to play. Yeah. There's so many things you got to think about, right? You got to think about, first of all, if you're going to like throw the ball properly, there's that. Like that's got to be something that you don't even think about. Second of all, you have to trust that your receiver is going to receive the ball. No, you have to trust that your receiver is going to run the right route.
Right.
Route. They say route.
We do say route. Yeah. Us Americans.
And you have to trust that they are going to catch the ball. You have to make sure that the defense, you're not throwing into defense. You have to make sure, you have to trust that your receiver like dekes off your defense. Then you have to make sure that, your flag doesn't get caught by someone rushing you. Yeah. And when that happens, everything else kind of like just melts away. It's like, okay, now they're after you. Now you got to run. Now, do you run or do you run and throw?
Yeah.
So there's like just so many things, and I wasn't very good at it. I was like asked. Yeah, there you go. Hey, I got paid to do it. That's it.
Yeah, there you go.
Now I can just play and be a receiver.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Just in final, I usually do a shot, but I'm not drinking today.
Okay.
But I wanted to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And just a couple more final plugs to end off for
sure.
you. We mentioned earlier, Instagram, Marie Huey, right? Mm-hmm. We can find you at Guilt & Co. We can find you singing for stadiums.
Yeah. I have a website too, mariehuey.com, if that's what you want to do. But there's some videos on there. There's some music on there. But chat with me on Instagram. That's what you want to do.
And I look forward to seeing that music video.
Thank you.
Mariah and Shida come out.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been such great friends for so long. I'm so happy that I'm collaborating with her on this.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks Brandon.
Cheers.